I came home from work to find the kitchen a mess again. It looked like my roommate for the whole neighborhood. There was a ton of spaghetti sauce and noodles amongst the pots, pans, bowls, and plates. But when I opened the fridge, I didn't find any left for me. Did she even work anymore? No one was home. At least she took the party elsewhere. The smell wafting from the sink was putrid. I sighed. It wasn't my job to clean up after her, but she didn't seem to have the wherewithal to ever clean up after herself. The dishes went slowly. My feet already ached from the over 8 hours standing on them, and another 2 cleaning up her dirty dishes wasn't in my plans for the night. Oh well, I had nothing better to do. I resolved to hide some of the dishes in my bedroom until she moved past her party phase. Well, if. A row of clean but wet white bowls and plates filled the drying rack. I also cleaned the cups, pots, and pans and left them to dry on a dish towel. I scanned the kitchen one last time. It kind of felt like I was 5 years old again, playing house in kindergarten with my bossy best friend. The kitchen was mostly clean. Just by the doorway of the hall, I saw another cup at the very far end of the kitchen. I sighed again. When I picked it up, I expected more red tomato sauce and noodle bits, but instead, inside was a bit of brown clay. It looked like the bottom of the pot coffee mixed with mud. Ew, I groaned. I plunged the cup into the soapy water and gave it a good scrub. The substance began to break off and it rinsed clean. I placed the cup with the others to dry, making a mental note to talk to my roommate more seriously about having the entire neighborhood over and not cleaning up. At the time, I was honestly just glad she was gone and the apartment was quiet. After a shower and changed to pajamas, I watched a few programs on streaming. I honestly didn't feel like going out. It's not like anyone called me anymore anyway. It was just a lazy night. I passed out a little before midnight and had a plethora of wild stress dreams. Around 3, I woke up to the thumping of feet and the soft rumble of voices. I knew it was my roommate, home with a bit of the after party, with her to sleep it off in the bedroom. I turned over and tried to get back to sleep. It didn't come easily, but I did finally pass back out. The next morning came in a groggy daze. I woke to bird songs and overslept my alarm, but not enough to make me late for anything. I had a few missed calls that I didn't recognize. It was probably just the roomie looking for a ride. Glad I didn't get them. I rolled out of bed and in one step, my foot struck a hard cylinder object. I looked down as my toes hit cold porcelain. Oh, what jerks, I muttered. It was the same cup, half full of what I hoped wasn't poop. And it was in the center of my small bedroom floor. I figured this was some kind of strange prank from one of the roomie's more artistic and creative friends. I tried not to get mad. At first, my reaction was to explode. But some of her homeless friends were cute and sweet in their own way, I guess. Also, we had friends in common, so it's not like I could burn every bridge. I mean, I didn't always mean to freak out on them, not even for a harmless prank. No, I resolved I would just ignore it. The living room was a bit more trashed than I remembered. I made my way to the kitchen and the dishes were dry. Again, I cleaned the cup and rinsed the mud down the drain. It went easily and I returned to my day. I decided just not to say anything and they'd probably stop and move on to better things. I put the dishes away, sprayed some air freshener, and left. Work was work again. And despite my best efforts, I remained in a crummy mood all day. I guess I was a little jealous of my free-spirited, popular roommate. Even if she didn't make the best choices, at least she wasn't tied to bills and taking care of herself like I was. That night, I came home to another empty house. Unlike the night before, I was exhausted. Rest was one of those things that I needed, and this new roommate and her antics were making things worse and worse. Also, that same day, this rude customer had really gotten under my skin, and I just wanted a tall glass of water and a good night's rest. In the kitchen, I saw it as soon as I walked in. The white mug sat in the exact center of the counter, the only object out from the cabinets. For a fact, I know I washed, dried, and put that mug back twice now in the cabinet. The door to the cabinet opened easily, and I confirmed, yes, that was the same mug. No, we didn't have multiples. I inched closer. I looked inside that mug, and it was again full of brown, smooth mud. But unlike the night before and this morning, it had some white speckles inside. I said. I pulled out my phone and selected Chloe's number. Hey, I texted, are you growing something in this mug? And then I sent her a picture. Then I posted it to my story with a question mark and asked for suggestions. I decided to leave it alone and deal with it another day. I looked in the living room on my way to the bedroom, and though it was still a mess, it was slightly less of a mess than I thought I saw in the morning. Oh good, a win. Before passing out into stress-dream sleep, I checked my messages. Chloe had written back, "Heh, what's that?" I responded, "This mug, I keep finding it with dirt in it. I thought you were growing something or messing with me." "Not me," was her response. "Try not to wake up the neighborhood when you come home tonight," I said, feeling a little mommish. "I am home," she sent back. "You're here?" I yelled towards our adjoining bedroom wall. I was only met with quietness of the building, and there was no response. I texted back, "Kay, have a good night," not wanting to get into it. She was probably high and didn't know where she was, or just drunk and messing with me. Before passing out entirely, I sent my best friend a picture of the mug and asked her if she knew what it could be growing. "No," she wrote back. "Looks gross." "Yeah," I said to myself and rolled over to sleep. At around 3 a.m, again, I woke up to loud thumping and rumbling. It didn't come from my roommate's room as I expected. No, it came from somewhere else in our apartment. I rolled out of bed as softly as I could. The floor was cold under my feet. With as much quietness as I could muster, I carefully unlatched the lock on my bedroom door. Small creaks of wood escaped as I slowly opened it and peered out. It looked like flashing blue and white lights from inside the kitchen. I thought of the police or something else. Stupidly, I let curiosity get the better of me, and I crept down the hallway towards the kitchen, sticking close to the wall on instinct. What I saw will haunt me forever, in both that I didn't and still don't understand it, and also in the absolute shock of the entire scene that unfolded before my eyes. In the center of the kitchen was that same stupid cup. Instead of sitting on the counter, being benign, it levitated in the center of the room. The blue and white light emanated from the center of what I thought had been porcelain. The lights pulsed and burst, and the cup spun, giving the entire kitchen and hallway a mere bald look of checkered blue and white light. As the mug throbbed, the mud on the inside welled up, higher and higher. It expanded like a foam, on and above the lip of the brim. The bright white speckles from before had also grown and sharpened into points, together and on the edges. I felt it drawing me in. I felt it calling to me. Without any warning, chills ran down my spine. I was about to take a step forward to hopefully just get a better look when, from a crumpled ball on the floor just to my right, my roommate stood up. I hadn't even seen her there. She was like shrouded in the shadow of the fridge. Her face had been tucked behind her knees. Her name caught in my throat. I wanted to say something to her, anything, but what could I say? I just gasped. With each step she took towards the floating cup, it shook and spun faster, vibrating energy. She walked in tiny little steps. Her hand reached towards it. Everything seemed to happen in slow motion. And I know that's a super duper cliche thing to say, but that's exactly how it went. The instant her hands reached the mug, the instant, like just her tippy tip of her little fingers grazed the very edge of the cup, the mud exploded towards the ceiling. But instead of spewing apart like normal mud, it kept itself in one amoeba-esque throbbing piece. The large brown form expanded to each side of the small apartment kitchen, with a slit down the center, a wide horizontal split that formed with the slowness of a predator that had just lured in its prey. And like some kind of crazy-looking fish, it opened its gargantuan mouth as the cup continued to spin and flash beneath it. Chloe hadn't even seen the giant mud creature, its enormous mouth, or anything except the bright flashing of the spinning cup. "Chloe!" I shouted, finally able to get my voice back. But she didn't or couldn't hear me. "Chloe!" I pleaded. "Stop! Get out of there!" But before the word "there" completely escaped my lips, it was too late. The mud creature's mouth opened wide and rushed down over top of Chloe's entire petite body. It just engulfed her completely before my eyes. In a panic, I returned to my bedroom. I locked the door, and I pushed my dresser in front of the door, like a barricade. More thumping and rumpling came from the back of the apartment. I thought I saw more flashing lights, but I just ignored them. Then, what I was not expecting: "Cynthia," I heard Chloe's voice say in an eerie timbre just from the outside of the bedroom door. Very few lights danced from beneath the crack under the door, under the dresser. I didn't answer. Fear tears streamed down my face. I shoved a pillow and a towel under the dresser to hide the bright lights from entering the room. More rumbles followed, and accompanied by Chloe's doll-like voice humming and singing bits. "Oh, Cynthia. Oh." There was nothing I could do. I stayed there, pressed up against the dresser, and pressed it into the door. I held on my other pillow, and I looked across towards the windows on the other side. For as many hours as I could remember, I sat like that until I heard nothing. Even with nothing, I didn't dare to move. The sun rose, filling the bedroom with natural light. After hours and hours, I finally felt like I had some sort of grip on reality again, and I just kept the dresser in place, but I grabbed some clothes, my laptop, phone, and, only the most important things. It ended up being several bags worth, but I could carry them all at once. When I did move the dresser, I peered into the hallway. I saw nothing but ordinary, just what it always had looked like. The kitchen looked the same as before, not that I could see much into it from where my bedroom door was. The hall was empty. The living room was still the same level of trashed, so I could tell. To my left, I saw the front door that led to the stairs to the outside. Unlike the night before when I came home, it was completely open. As quietly as I could, I made my escape. I took all of my bags down in one trip, and I didn't return for anything else. I almost looked in my roommate's room on the way to the door, but I just looked down instead for fear of seeing a cup in the center or something way worse. I called into work and I moved. I just moved. It's not like it wasn't something I hadn't been planning for a while, but I had friends in a larger city and I was done. I was done with random crazy roommates and every awful thing they brought with them. Hello friends, I'm Sunny Lancaster. I'm a writer and a narrator. If you like this video, please let me know in the comments. Also, if you want to hear more scary stories, please subscribe.